Okay, welcome back in. So I was going through my playlist because I like to create them once in a blue moon, and I was like, do I have an odd number of teams? Because there's 32 teams in the National Football League. I said I'm pretty sure I did 30 teams because the only two teams that are left are the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. And then I got to look and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about the Arizona Cardinals. So if you're a Cardinals fan, I do apologize, but now is the time. It's better late than never to do a review. So this past season, they would finish third in the NFC with a record of 8-9, missing the postseason for the third straight year. So we'll take a look at their team schedule. And as always, I always skip the preseason because it doesn't mean jack. And if it did mean something, then unfortunately they were winless in their preseason. So starting out, they would lose to Buffalo, win against the Rams, go on a 2-game losing streak to the Lions and the Commanders respectively. Then you can say they pulled off a bit of an upset against the 49ers. They would lose to Green Bay. And then they'd go on a bit of a winning streak against the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Bears, and Jets respectively before their Week 11 bye. After their bye week, unfortunately, it didn't turn out that well. They would lose 3 straight games, 2 games to the Seahawks, 1 game to the Vikings. They would finally stop that losing streak against the Patriots, and then they would lose to the Panthers and the Rams before finally winning their last game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers. The shocking thing about this was that they were in first place at one point in time in the NFC West, so I personally thought this team could be pull this off and really get back into the postseason and host a wild card game at worst case scenario. But unfortunately, you saw how many times they went on a losing streak, and that's never a good sign at all. So you can see the standings there. They would finish third with a record of 8-9. So as a team, they would finish 18th in the league in passing yards. They would finish with 3,639. They were 21st in receiving yards with 3,859. First downs, they were 5th in the league, so at least they're in the top 5 of some category. They would finish with 113 first downs. They would finish 7th in rushing, so a top 10 rushing attack. You can't really go wrong with that. They would finish with 2,451 yards, and they would finish 12th in points scored with exactly 400. So we'll take a look at the defense. So on the defensive side, they would finish 14th in the league in sacks with 41. Interceptions, they would finish 24th in the league with only 9. And forced fumbles, they were 6th in the league with 17. And tackles, they would finish 20th in the league with 647. Special teams, field goals made, they were 7th in the league, making 34 field goals. Their field goal percentage would be 89.5, which was 9th in the league. Extra points made, they made 36 extra points, which was good for 15th in the league. And their extra point percentage would be 11th. So unfortunately, they did miss a few PATs. So now we'll scroll to the top and take a look at the individual player stats. So Kyler Murray, big surprise, would lead the team in passing yards, 3,851. He would finish with a 68.76 completion percentage and 21 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. That's roughly a 2-to-1 ratio. Trey McBride would lead the team in receiving yards with 1,146 yards on 111 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison Jr. would finish second on the team in receiving yards, 885 on 62 catches and 8 touchdowns. James Conner, the running back, would lead the team in rushing yards with 1,094, 236 attempts, and 8 touchdowns. And no surprise here, Kyler Murray would finish second on the team in rushing yards, 572 yards on 78 attempts and 5 TDs. On the defensive side of things, we had Zaven Collins, the linebacker, would finish with 5 sacks, 33 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. Budda Baker, the safety, would finish with 95 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. And Sean Murphy Bunting would finish with 3 interceptions. So he had a third of the picks on the team, 30 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 5 pass deflections. On the special team side of things, we had Chad Ryland, the kicker, would make 28 of 32 field goals, which was an 87.5 field goal percentage. And Blake Gillikin would finish with 1,887 yards on 38 punts, and he averaged just below 50 yards a kick. So just to do a quick little recap for the Cardinals, again, a very disappointing season, missing out on the postseason for the 3rd straight year, as I did say at the beginning of the video. The one thing I will say, that's if you look at it from a positive side of thing, they're showing signs that they are they're an okay team. It's not like they're finishing at the bottom and the cellar. They only have 4 or 5 wins. They were pretty close to a 500 ball club. As you can see, they would just finish 1 game below. So they could have easily gotten to 9-8, possibly 10-7, and then they could have given the Rams a run for their money for that NFC West division. But like I said, when I was looking through the schedule, whenever you go on a 2 or 3 game losing streak, you're very unlikely to make the postseason because those are just killers. Doesn't matter if you have a losing streak at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, or the middle of it. Once you start losing consecutive games in a row, other teams will leap you in the standings, and that's exactly what happened to the Arizona Cardinals. So there should be, I want to say there should be a little bit of optimism moving forward. I mean, if they were this competitive towards the end of the year and this close to making the postseason, I wouldn't write them off next year just yet. I still believe the 49ers, as long as they stay healthy, they should be favorites in the NFC West. And I mean, the Rams did win the division, so they could be right there as well. And the Seattle Seahawks, they had the same record as Los Angeles, and unfortunately fell just shy of making it into the postseason. So 3 very good teams in the NFC West, but I'd put the Cardinals in that mix as well. Like, I think anybody could win that division, and especially if teams happen to have an injury bug, which the 49ers did, then other teams could possibly step up and take over. I mean, the Cardinals did finish better than San Fran, which is a shock. I didn't think that was ever going to happen. So I don't want to say that they're going to be a bust next year. I don't want to say they're going to finish 4th in the division. And even if they do finish 4th, I think it's going to be still very competitive. Like, I think it's going to be a dogfight to get that NFC West crown. There are certain divisions I look at and I think, okay, this team should be a favorite to win out. This team should be a lock to get that division. But for the NFC West, I think it's open. I don't think there's one team that for sure you can say, oh yeah, they'll for sure lock it in. Because at the beginning of the season, I would have had San Fran all day making it. But unfortunately, like I said before, the injury bug caught up to them, and they would have probably one of their worst seasons in recent memory. So if you're a Cardinals fan, you should have some optimism going forward that this team could be competitive, and with any luck, if they can get off to a better start, or like I said, prevent those 2, 3, 4 game losing streaks, they could see themselves possibly as like a dark horse heading into the 2025-26 season. So again, don't hang your head too low. Yes, you did miss the playoffs, but just narrowly. So there could be some optimism, and depending on what they do in the offseason via trades, signings, draft, whoever they bring into the organization could possibly help them get better. And like I said, they could possibly pull off an upset or 2 next year and find themselves in the race for a playoff spot. I mean, there is 3 wildcard positions if they're not able to get the division crown. So now that I've looked at the Cardinals, I'm finally pretty much caught up to date. As I said before, I'm going to wait until after the Super Bowl is done to do my reviews on the Eagles and the Chiefs, respectively. All right, that's going to take care of this review from the National Football League and the Arizona Cardinals. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.